elements of communication. There is parts of communication. Before starting any communication or before starting any work, before preparing the food, what you need before preparing the food, or before preparing the lunch or dinner or anything. Before preparing the food, you need gas or stove, or mainly fire. Gas, stove, fire, or some of the vessels, handles, spoons, like that, like that. The elements of communication, parts of communication. Now we know what are the parts we need for start the communication. Okay. What are the parts we need for the communication process? What are the parts, or what are the components of the communication? Yes, I already told. Yeah. Okay. See, these are the elements of communication parts. Without source, we cannot do anything, or without message, the communication process is faced. No meaning. Without the channel, the application communication or the message will not send. Without the receiver, no meaning of the communication, or without the receiver effect, or without feedback, that is not a communication. Okay, see, these are the 6 main elements of communication. This one you write the examination. This is the 6 main elements of communication. When you click on elements of communication, Google shows the different types of elements of communication. Google shows the different types of elements of communication. This is the 6 main elements of communication for your exam purpose. In first year, there is SMCR. S for sender, M for message, C for channel, R for receiver. That's the main communication. Now they're upgrading your knowledge or updating your knowledge. There is the 6 elements of communication. Okay. See, noise. Okay, noise. Here is the noise. Now here I explained nicely about the noise. See, first of all, before starting the elements of communication, I review the process of communication. Yes, I review the process of communication. Recall. Source means sender. Using some letters or using some symbols, using some pictures, the source or the sender encoding the message or enclosing the message. They send the message to the receiver by using some of the channel of communication, channels of communication, or message, encoding the message. They send the message using channels of communication. Here the noise is started. A noise is started here due to the inappropriate use of channels, or misunderstanding, or inappropriate work of telephone, or doing the oral communication, inappropriate work of telephone, or inappropriate hearing problem of the receiver, or some of the disturbance in the communication process, or during the typing the message, or some of the English typing problem. That is noise. Okay, that is noise. Field of experience. Okay, field of experience means, see, there is big 2 circles. Okay, there is big 2 circles. The communication process will start in this big 2 circle. First circle is the source, the sender enter into that one, and they start the message and encoding the message. Encoding the message, the same message, they will see the same channels. For example, telephone is the channel, or telephone is the media. For example, telephone is the media. They will use the telephone as the media. They both, the source and receiver, they both use the telephone for sharing the feelings, or sharing the information. When they are starting the communication, or starting the communication or starting speaking in the telephone, there is some error or there is some voice breaking or some wire problem or some hearing problem of the sender. That is the noise. That is the noise. Okay, that is the noise. Next, the message that enter, there is decoding and they are received by the receiver. Okay, so this is the basic communication process. And the receiver receives the message and give the response by sending the feedback to the source or sender. Okay, that process is called feedback loop. Feedback loop. L-O-O-P loop. Okay. Next, you already studied about this source, message sender, encoding, message channels, and receiver feedback. We already studied about this process of communication. So obviously, I will review once more. I will review the communication process. Source is the origin of the idea, or the source is the sender. Okay, you start the message, conveying the message or ideas, feelings, or prepare the message, and you want to select the channel and distribute the message to the receiver. Okay. Next, you start the message, the source, and start the typing the message or start telling the message in the telephone. If they use the telephone as a channel, and start the telling the message. Content sharing, using some of the symbols, or using some of the words, using some of the transformation, using some of the telephone, using some of the mobile phones, telephones, letters, Google, email, internet, using some of the channels. They start the telling the messages. Okay, encoding. And the channel. Okay, channel is the medium. Medium is one of the channel is like a channel is like a postman. Okay, channel, for example, channel is like a postman. Channel is like internet or medium, mass media, or it may be a TV, television, it may be a YouTube or Facebook, Twitter. These are all the channels for conveying the message to the receivers, for conveying the message to the public. Nowadays, all the TV channels, news channels, they are conveying the message. They are conveying the message, some important message in the TV channels and news channels. For example, some of the news channels, they're giving the full clarity about the news. For example, TV9, Public TV, etc. Some of the news channels, they're giving the full clarity about the news. That's the channels. Okay, channel. Selection of the channel depends on the message to be conveyed and availability of the channel. And sender also think about the cost and effectiveness of the channel distribution. Okay, this is about the channel. This is one of the third element or third component or third part of the communication. Next, receiver. Receiver receives the message and intended. Okay, receiver is the one of the most important person or important aspect or important element in the process of communication, in which until the message received to the receiver, that is one-way communication, one-way process. When the receiver starts sending the feedback or sending the response to the sender message, that is the two-way process. Two-way process. Without that, that is the incomplete message. With the receiver send the message to the okay, that's the two-way process. Incomplete without the receiver. Okay, and this is the element of the communication that is incomplete without the receiver. Next, effect. Effect means feedback. Okay, effect means feedback. It's change in the behavior. It is a good message, or for example, your the baby, the mother gives the birth. This is good message. Your grandmother is death. That is bad message. There is depending on the situation or depending on the change of behavior. After receiving the immediately the receiver's behavior is say change. Okay, it's changed. The effect is the change behavior of the receiver when receiving the message from the sender. Okay, he or receiver may ignore the message, or he may not read the message. That is incomplete communication process. Okay, the receiver may ignore the message or store it the message, or the sending the WhatsApp message, they will not unread that one. Mark as they will mark as unread. Like that, this may happen in the nowadays or in future days also. This the type of the happen. That is the effect. If the receiver read the message, the receiver receives the information, immediately the receiver has to send the feedback. That's decide the effect of the message. That's the feedback. Okay, feedback. The response of the receiver. The receiver has to give the full clarity about the sender message. Okay, using some of the good resource or good channels, using another channels. You receive the message from the, for example, you receive the message from the letters or by the post office. Okay, that is the one of the sender channel. You can send that same message or another feedback to the mail or to the sender mail or to the WhatsApp, like that. Okay, I received, like that. Okay, they may different channels may used by the, it is depending on the sender and receiver. It's completely different. Okay, and feedback in most cases does not take place. It's optional element of the communication that may or may not happen. If they may happen, means that's a good or communication process or element of communication that's completed. If this feedback is may not happen, under that is incomplete communication. You have to give the feedback. It's a good completeness of the communication. By conclusion, the elements of the communication, that's the source, message, channels, receiver, effect, and finally the feedback. Okay, these are the 6 main elements of communication. You write in the final exam, they may ask elements of communication in the 2 marks. In the short answer, they may ask the question, write the elements of communication. If they ask like that, you can write there are 6 elements of communication: source, message, channels, receiver, effect, and finally feedback. These are the 6 elements of communication. Okay. Any doubts? If you have any doubts, comment in the comment box. Okay. Thank you.